It sounds like a fairy tale. In the early 80s, a small Italian plumber met an unknown but ambitious gaming company called Nintendo. Nintendo seemed to really like this guy with his Italian accent and wild mustache and offered him a once-in-a-lifetime career opportunity. Mario decided to work only for Nintendo from now on. 3 decades later, he became the most successful franchise in gaming history. But how was this possible? Let's find out. The first time Mario appeared was in the year 1981 in the arcade game classic Donkey Kong. In this game, Mario had to rescue a damsel in distress called Pauline, who was kidnapped from Donkey Kong. If you think this story sounds like a typical Mario story, it may surprise you that this game originally wasn't created for Mario. It was created for Popeye, the Sailor Man. 1 year earlier, Nintendo planned to release an arcade game where Popeye had to rescue his kidnapped girlfriend Olive Oil out of the hands of a bully called Bluto. But Nintendo wasn't able to get the license to publish a Popeye game, so Shigeru Miyamoto, the responsible game designer, was instructed to exchange the characters, and Miyamoto created instead of Bluto, a giant ape called Donkey Kong. Instead of Olive Oil, a blonde girl called Pauline, and of course, instead of Popeye, he created Jumpman. But wait, who is Jumpman? Well, Mario was not always known as Mario until he got his actual name. Mario had 2 other names: Mr. Video while Donkey Kong was developed, and Jumpman when the game was released. So while Mario didn't have his iconic name in the first adventure, he wore a very similar outfit to the one he wears today. Surprisingly, Mario's outfit had nothing to do with the weird things people wore in the 80s. It had to do with the strict graphical limitations of the arcade hardware. Miyamoto clothed Mario in red and blue because these colors contrasted each other and the background clearly. He gave Mario a mustache and a red cap because this was easier for him to create than a mouth and a hairstyle. Finally, Miyamoto created Mario's big nose, so Mario became the unique, distinctive game character we all know today. And Donkey Kong became a very successful game. It sold 100,000 units worldwide, so Nintendo earned $280 million. Unsurprisingly, Nintendo made a sequel 1 year later, Donkey Kong Jr. But while nowadays hardly anybody remembers this game, we can be sure Mario remembers, because Donkey Kong Jr. was the only game where Mario was the bad guy. He held Donkey Kong captured in a cage. And more important, in this game, he finally got his actual name, Mario, named after Mario Segale, the landlord of the Nintendo of America headquarters. So the early 80s were a good time for Mario. In 1983 he got his first job as a plumber in Brooklyn, New York. Mario also met his younger fraternal twin brother Luigi for the first time. The brothers investigated the sewers of New York after strange creatures appeared there. Together they had to fight native sewer monsters like shell creepers. And the Mario Brothers were so successful in beating these creatures that Nintendo named the video game after them, Mario Brothers. After that, Nintendo was impressed by Mario's skills. In fact, so impressed that the company decided in 1985 that the plumber was ready for a new mission. A mission even harder than to clean up New York's sewers. The plumber should help to sell Nintendo's new gaming console, the Nintendo Entertainment System. And Mario did a great job. His first home title, Super Mario Bros, sold more than 40 million copies and was the best-selling video game until 2006. The NES became also the best-selling console of its generation, with 60 million units sold. But why was the whole world so crazy about Super Mario? Well, there were many reasons. First of all, Super Mario Bros. Revolutionized platform games. It was based on a side-scrolling technology. Before that, platformers were limited to a static screen. The players made new, breathtaking experiences like walking on clouds or swimming in water. The whole game looked awesome and maybe had the most recognizable music in gaming history. But the most important reason was, Super Mario Bros. Was the first game that had the typical Mario feeling. Like today, players had to jump on the heads of Goombas, Koopa Troopas and Hammer Bros to rescue Princess Peach from Bowser. Super Mario Bros. Also introduced useful power-ups, like the Superstar and the Super Mushroom, which transformed Mario into Super Mario. And while the NES cartridge didn't have much storage, the clouds and bushes in Super Mario Bros. Are actually the same sprite in different colors. Nintendo was able to create a timeless and colorful graphic style. Thanks to this game, Super Mario became Nintendo's strongest brand in history. And because Super Mario became such a strong brand, the Japanese company made some very controversial decisions. They put Mario in a white shirt and blue pants to sell their golf simulation. They made him sit on a referee chair to sell their tennis game. They even made him invisible to sell their Formula 1 game. So it was no surprise that after some time, players got a little bit impatient and asked for a real Mario game again. Luckily for Christmas 1988, 3 long years after Super Mario Bros., Nintendo released the sequel, Super Mario Bros. 2 in the US. But when the game was released, many players were not sure what to think about the new look and the different gameplay. In Super Mario Bros. 2, the player had to pluck vegetables from the ground and throw them at enemies. While some gamers liked this idea and also liked the possibility to choose between 4 characters, Mario, Todd, Peach or Luigi, others criticized the antagonist Ward, an evil frog, and the new enemies like Shy Guys, Bob Arms and Birdos. But why was Super Mario Bros. 2 so different from his prequel? Well, Super Mario Bros. 2 originally was not a Mario game. Actually, Super Mario Bros. 2 was just an overworked version of a Japanese game called Yume Kojo Doki Doki Panic, where the 4 characters Imagine, Lina, Mama and Papa had to save the twins Piki and Poki. Nintendo took the original game and changed its look, story and characters to sell this game under the Mario brand on the US market. A clever idea. Super Mario Bros. 2 sold more than 10 million copies. But only 2 years later, the huge success of Super Mario Bros. 2 was exceeded by Super Mario Bros. 3, which sold nearly 20 million units. No wonder that Super Mario Bros. 3 ranks among the best Mario games ever created. Since Super Mario Bros. 3, gamers could play as Frog Mario and Tanuki Mario. Interestingly, there were many young enemies in the game, like baby bloopers and micro Goombas. Even Bowser had 7 kids in Super Mario Bros. 3. There are assumptions that the game developer Shigeru Miyamoto created so much kid enemies for this game because he himself became father at this time, but we don't know for sure. What we know for sure is that times became harder for Mario in the early 90s. That was not only thanks to Wario, who appeared as Mario's new antagonist in the Game Boy game Super Mario Land 2, and also not due to these fearsome little fellows who sadly never made it into any other Mario game. It was mainly because of Sonic the Hedgehog, Sega's new mascot, whom gamers seem to like as much as Mario. Sonic was named Sonic because he was able to run at supersonic speed. This ability was given to him by Sega to demonstrate the power of their new 16-bit console, the Mega Drive. And after Sega convinced many kids in the early 90s to buy a Mega Drive, Nintendo had to answer, and they answered with the Super Nintendo and Super Mario World. But was Super Mario World good enough to beat Sonic the Hedgehog? If we look at the number of games sold, we can say yes, it beat Sonic the Hedgehog. But Mario's success was only possible because the game included, like the other Mario games before, tons of groundbreaking ideas. In Super Mario World, Mario learned to spin attack to break blocks beneath him. He found new items like the cape feather or the power balloon, and for the first time in his life, Mario was able to ride on T. Yoshisaur Manchakoopas, his best friend, also known as Yoshi. So while the game was getting very positive critics, there were some Sega fans that criticized the slow speed of Mario. But who says that Mario could never be as fast as Sonic? All that Mario needed was a cart beneath his feet. Luckily, Nintendo released the first Super Mario Kart in 1992, a game that worked exactly the same way as today. You choose a class, you choose a driver, you wonder why Yoshi never pulls back his tongue? and then you wait for a red shell. Goodbye, Todd. The only thing different from today's Mario Kart was the fact that all racing tracks in Super Mario Kart had to be flat because the hardware couldn't simulate height. 4 years later, Nintendo solved this problem in Mario Kart 64 because their new console, the Nintendo 64, was able to create 3D graphics. And the technology was not only used for Mario Kart, it also changed the Super Mario series. With the release of Super Mario 64 in 1996, Nintendo revolutionized the platform genre. For the first time, players were able to explore an open Mario world where the plumber wasn't forced to follow a linear path. Super Mario 64 also included more puzzles than earlier Mario games. With this concept, Nintendo defined the way 3D jump'n'runs work until today, exactly like Super Mario Bros. Defined 2D side-scrolling platformers in the 80s. So before we end our history of Mario, let's take a short look back at the Mario titles that were released after the 3D revolution. In Super Mario Sunshine for the GameCube, the plumber took his first vacation on the tropical island Delfino, but couldn't enjoy his vacation because a villain, known as Shadow Mario, appeared and plastered the whole island with graffiti. And in Super Mario Galaxy and his sequel Super Mario Galaxy 2 for the Wii, our plumber had to travel between galaxies to release Princess Peach out of Bowser's hands. If we look back and compare the story of Super Mario Galaxy 2 with the story of the first Mario adventure, Donkey Kong, it seems that nothing has changed in Mario's life. He still tries to rescue his beloved princess, but if we look back at the franchise itself, we can see the real revolution that took place in the last 30 years of video gaming. Oh, and there is a last shocking story that I forgot to tell you. During the 30th anniversary of Super Mario in 2012, the game developer Shigeru Miyamoto stated that Mario's full name is Mario Mario and Luigi's full name is Luigi Mario. And that's why everyone calls them the Mario Brothers. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you enjoyed the video, leave me a thumbs up and maybe you feel especially historical today and want to hit the subscribe button as well. I hope you have a wonderful day and to see you soon. Goodbye!